Was Jesus Christ religious? You have a lot of Christians who say it's not a religion, it's a relationship. I have a lot of people sending me biblical questions and all kinds of questions, questions on tithing, questions on the kingdom of heaven, and people send me videos and they want me to react to videos. And so a close friend of mine has sent me a clip of an audiobook that he found on YouTube, and it was about Christianity and liberalism. One of my friends and I had kind of talked about it a little bit, and I told my friend, "Look, I'll probably make a video on it. It'll be good content." My response, but I never ended up making the video because I've been trying to work on some other things. But I got up today and I'm like, you know what? I need to do that video today, and so I'm kind of winging it. So bear with me. Follow my line of logic, but I'm going to listen to this clip. I want you to hear it with me and tell me what your thoughts are. But let's go through this together.
Not illustrate Christian faith any more than God can be religious, are we not denying to Jesus that religious experience which is a necessary element in true humanity? Must not Jesus, if he be true man, have been more than the object of religious faith? Must he not have had a religion of his own? The answer is not far to seek. Certainly Jesus had a religion of his own. His prayer was real prayer. His faith was real religious faith. His relation to his heavenly Father was not merely that of a child to a father, it was that of a man to his God. Certainly Jesus had a religion. Without it his humanity would indeed have been but incomplete. Without doubt Jesus had a religion. The fact is of the utmost importance. But it is equally important to observe that that religion which Jesus had was not Christianity. Christianity is a way of getting rid of sin, and Jesus was without sin. His religion was a religion of paradise, not a religion of sinful humanity. It was a religion to which we may perhaps in some sort attain in heaven, when the process of our purification is complete, though even then the memory of redemption will never leave us. But certainly it is not a religion with which we can begin. The religion of Jesus was a religion of untroubled sonship. Christianity is a religion of the attainment of sonship by the redeeming work of Christ. But if
Okay, well, that's pretty interesting. And he had sent me some text messages about this, and he in a group chat with me and Anthony, my friend Anthony. I did an interview with him not too long ago on Kingdom, really good. So my friend says, what are y'all thoughts on this audio? Jesus had a religion, but it wasn't Christianity. It was a religion of paradise. Christianity is the attainment of sonship and removal of sin, but Christ was already a son and sinless. My friend Anthony, he said, can I get the definition of religion? So my friend sent the definition of religion: the belief in and worship of a superhuman power or powers, especially a god or gods. And then he sent me a Bible passage, and he put dictionary definition and biblical demonstration. And he gave me the passage in James 1:27 that says, pure and undefiled religion before our God and Father is this: to visit orphans and widows in their affliction, and to keep oneself unstained by the world. And he says, and this isn't to start a debate or anything. Oh, okay. I am genuinely curious, never heard it put this way, but the book was written 100 years ago. I think in this entire video, I might just try to make one point: my thoughts on Jesus being religious. The first point that I want to make is this might not answer this question, but this is what comes to my mind. We use the word religion a lot. The first thing that comes to my mind is, in the beginning of time, did Adam and Eve have a religion? That's what comes to my mind. Did Adam and Eve had a religion? We don't see religion until after the fall of man. And I make this point, and I say this all respectfully. There's a lot of people out there who have a problem when you say Jesus was not religious. And I understand. I totally understand. I get it. Especially it's a polarizing perspective. It's a polarizing view. It's controversial. And I'm one to also say, I don't think that Jesus Christ is a religious person. But when I say that, knowing that the Bible uses this word religion, we have to ask, what does one person mean when they say that word religion? And many times, I think many times people forget that words can be used interchangeably. And so, and what do I mean by this? For example, if you're just hanging out with your friends and just enjoying each other, having deep conversations about things, talking about just having good conversations, you're not really concerned about the usage of words. And I make this point because I think it's very important. It is very important, and I think it's vital to understand, especially people who are have a strong opinion on pretty much anything, but especially in the area of religion and or politics. As soon as people begin to, let's say, have a debate, people will start to heavily analyze the usage of words. And for example, if I'm hanging out with my friend and my friend is like, we're playing Super Smash Bros. And let me make something very clear. No man on earth can beat me at Super Smash Bros. Like if you want the smoke, I'll give you the smoke. But Super Smash Bros. Let's say that my friend's beating me at Super Smash. No, not beating me. I'm beating him at Super Smash Bros. And while I'm beating him at Super Smash Bros., he loses and then he says, "Oh man, bro, I hate you, man. You're so good at this game. I freaking hate you, bro." And we just laugh and joke around. But let's say I was a little bit petty and he says, "I hate you, bro." Ah. And then I got mad at him. I said, "What? What do you mean you hate me, bro? What are you talking about?" This might not be a good example, but follow my point. What are you talking about? You hate me? He's like, "No, you good, man? I don't actually hate you. I'm just we're playing a video game and you just beat me. I don't literally hate you." But the definition of the word hatred means to have bitterness. Now, I don't know if that's the definition of the word hatred, but let's just say that I did that. And he's like, "Okay, no, we're cool, man. Well, what do you mean by hate?" Because the dictionary definition of that word means. Now, I bring this point up because many times that's what religious people do, where they look heavily into words. Now, let's say I'll use one more example. Rituals. Let's say that I wake up every morning and I work out. I exercise to take care of my body and I drink water and I drink coffee. It's my morning ritual. And if someone comes to me and says, "Do you do rituals?" And you have to ask, "Well, what do you mean when you say ritual?" "Well, I mean, do you do satanic rituals?" "No." "But do you do rituals?" "No." "Do you wake up every morning and go to the gym and exercise?" "Yes." "Okay, so do rituals then?" "Whoa, hold on, man. Follow me." It's like, "Whoa, hold on. I have a morning ritual, but not like that. But you do rituals. Let's make that clear. You do rituals." What are we talking about? Are we talking about spiritual rituals or, satanic rituals, or like waking up and going to the gym? Now, if somebody on paper, yes, I do rituals, but if you're meaning spiritual rituals, no, I don't do rituals. And then, so I bring that point up because I know it might not be the best example. It might not be the best example, but try to follow my line of thought that words can be used interchangeably. And in the same way, you can use that word ritual on an extreme level. You can use it on something simple as waking up and going to the gym. And so, why do I make this point? Because there's a very important word that I think a lot of Christians need to understand and study and look into this word, hermeneutics. Hermeneutics. The definition. Let me look up the definition of the word hermeneutic real quick. Hermeneutics. So, the definition of the word hermeneutics is the branch of knowledge that deals with interpretation, especially of the Bible or literary texts. Now, I bring this up because I think that it's a very important word that people need to understand, because hermeneutics is kind of like this. It is the hermeneutics is the bridge between a statement and the meaning of that statement. A statement and meaning are two separate things. Hermeneutics is the bridge between a law and the meaning of that law, a written code and the meaning of that written code, a story and the meaning of the story. For example, I could tell somebody a story, and that story could either be a literal story or a parable, a metaphor. But you would only know if I tell you this is just a metaphor, or hypothetically speaking, or hey, let me tell you my life story, whatever it is. And I go into this because, let's say, for example, religion. Why is the word religion so important? Now, if I see in the Bible that good religion is to help the widows, and at the same time say Jesus did do that, but I don't call him a religious person, what does that person mean? I simply just mean he's not legalistic, such as the Pharisees were. Someone else, when they say religious, they might just mean, does he believe in God? So if you believe in God, technically you are religious. It's like, well, yeah, no. I got you. I got you. On paper, I'm religious, but I wouldn't consider myself a religious man. But it's like, wait, what? You believe in God, but you don't call yourself religious? And it's funny because I had a conversation with an atheist who asked me, what do I believe? And he's like, do you believe in God? And I'm like, yeah. Are you religious? I said, no. And he's like, okay. And he just understood what I meant. And I asked him, what do you think about that? And so he asked me some more questions, like, so but which God do you believe? Or do you believe the Bible? Do you believe in Jesus? What do you believe in? And I was like, oh yeah, I believe in Jesus, but I'm just not religious. And he understood what I meant. He understood. He was like, wait, oh, okay, I get what you're saying. You're just not like those legalistic Christians. And I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what I mean. Yes. And he's like, yeah, no, I respect that. I respect that. So he was like, do you still believe in the Bible though? And I'm like, yep. And he's like, okay. And he's like, and we're talking, and he understood that I wasn't gonna try to shove the Bible down his throat, because he knew in his mind, he knew there was something different about me, and this is why we started conversating. So after we had talked and I told him what I believe in and everything, he had a lot of respect for me, and then we started having some great conversations about God and atheism and the creation of the world and all kinds of stuff. He felt safe talking to me, and but he understood the difference between saying using religion in one context and religion in a different context. Now, again, perhaps maybe I shouldn't say Jesus wasn't religious. Maybe that might confuse somebody. But again, meaning can only be found in a individual. It can only be found in the mind of someone. And what do I mean by this? That meaning can only be found in the mind of an individual. Because I could say something to you, I could explain in detail, and you might not understand what I mean, or vice versa. And say, wait, but I used all the right words, but you didn't get the meaning of it. Now, let's use, for example, when I say Hermeneutics is the bridge between a law and the meaning of that law. And this is an example that I often use: freedom of expression. Okay, the people who created that law, you have freedom of expression. These are all dead men. So the meaning of that can only be found in their mind. We have it on paper, freedom of expression. But if somebody were to say, okay, freedom of expression, that means I can go put graffiti on someone's building. Well, no, because that's probably not what they meant when they said you have freedom of expression. Or I can burn the American flag. Probably not. Hey, but it's freedom of expression. It's freedom of expression. So I can express myself freely. If I want to burn the American flag or if I want to go put graffiti on someone's building, I have freedom to do that because it's freedom of expression. I think we would all agree that that's not what it means. But on paper, that's what it would mean. On paper, if you were just to take the definition of the words. But definitions of words is not enough to give you the meaning of something. And so, Jesus being religious, I like something that my friend Anthony said, where he was like, the word religion is not even in the Bible. What did he mean when he said that? In the Hebrew and in the Greek, that word religion is not there because that's an English word. The best word that we have to describe whatever words they were using is the word religion. And I absolutely agree with them. And so, hermeneutics. Let me use another example of hermeneutics. Let's say somebody says, okay, do you believe in God? And this is something that Jordan Peterson often deals with. People ask him, do you believe in God? And he's like, what do you mean when you say that? Do you believe in God? Do you believe in God? And he's like, well, what do you mean? What do you mean? Because if he says yes, then they're going to say in response many times, if they don't like him, many people will say in response, oh, so you believe in genocide. You think that that's a good thing. You're okay with genocide. You like genocide. You believe in God because God allows genocide to happen. And so in his mind, he's like, see, this isn't what I'm talking about. This isn't what I mean. I can use that same word on Hitler. Do you believe in Hitler? Do you believe Hitler? So what do you mean by do I believe Hitler? Believe his existence? Believe what he says? When Jesus Christ is talking to his disciples and he says, believe in me, is he using it in the Americanized way, the word belief, where we just say, I just believe in the existence? I believe in the existence? Because he's standing right there in front of his disciples. They don't have to believe his existence. He's standing right there. So what did he mean when he used that word belief? Because someone else can use that same word belief in a completely different context. Belief. Do you believe that God exists? Do you believe what God says? Do you believe in Jesus? Do you believe in me? Like, there's so many different ways to use that word belief. Do you believe in yourself? What do you mean believe in yourself? Believe that I exist or believe that I'm capable of running 7 minutes or running a 7 minute mile? Like, what do you mean by belief? And so when I say Jesus is not religious, here's what I mean when I say that word. We often treat God as if he's just an abstract idea. We have religions, religion being a belief in a God or gods. Religion, in my mind, when I think about this, I'm like, well, I believe that there's only one true God. All other religions are false gods. I'm not judging them. I don't hate those people who believe in those gods, but I believe in my God over theirs. And the reason why I bring up that point was Adam religious. I think that the word religion is often it's attached to something that is abstract. made like something that you can't prove, something that you didn't experience. It's just a system of belief. And what do I mean by system of belief? Well, did Adam have to believe in God or did he just know him? Religion suggests that it's just a system of belief. You don't know if it's actually true or not, but it's something that you just decided to subscribe to. You subscribed to this system of belief, this way of believing, and you adhere to these rules because this is what your religion teaches. And I don't look at the God that I believe in as just an abstract, may or may not be true type of God. For me, I just believe that he actually exists. I've had experiences in my life where that has convinced me that this God exists. And so for me, it's more than just an abstract idea that I'm just like, I don't believe in it because I never experienced it. It's like, well, in our Bible study, we often do kingdom versus religion. I was like, what do you mean by that? Kingdom versus religion. And I understand someone may say, no, 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 you're still religious. You are still religious because you have a belief system. And I understand. I get it. I know. I know what you mean when you say that, but try to understand what I mean. Because yes, on paper, yes. Oh yeah, I'm a religious. I have a belief system. Okay. But again, I'm speaking of legalistic, ritualistic religion. Technically, everyone has a religion, even if you're an atheist. You have a system of belief. You have an abstract idea, the Big Bang Theory. It's just something that you have decided to put your faith in. I got you. I understand. I get it. So we're all religious. But I can use that same word in a different context and say, no, I'm not religious. In the same way, I use that word ritual. Let me try to summarize. Words can be used interchangeably. When I say Jesus Christ is not religious, I'm speaking about ritualistic religion, where the Pharisees, they had their traditions that would override God's laws. Their traditions became a form of their religion. But when you speak of a kingdom and you speak of a kingdom in a literal context, not like when I say kingdom of heaven, obviously that's like an abstract idea in our minds. Heaven, kingdom of heaven. But I believe that there is a totally different reality that exists. When Jesus Christ spoke about his kingdom, he didn't speak about it in terms of religion, but he spoke about his kingdom as though it was a literal kingdom. And I live in America. And if I say, I live in America, this is my religion, it wouldn't make sense. This is a country. I live in a country. This isn't my religion. But I believe that God's kingdom is a country. I believe that America is a country. But just because I believe in it doesn't mean that it's my religion. And so, for example, I've never met the president of the United States ever in my life. I've never met a governor. I met one guy who, no, never mind. I've never met the president of the United States, yet I adhere to the rules and the laws of America. I've only seen the president on camera. I could argue maybe the president doesn't actually exist until I see them with my own eyes in person, not on camera, because now we have AI nowadays. So I don't know if the president actually exists. So I could act kind of weird and make it a religion, maybe, perhaps. I live in a country that has rules and laws and regulations, and I have to adhere to those things, especially if I want to experience the benefits of those of obeying those laws. And I see the kingdom of heaven in the same exact way, where there is a king. His name is Yeshua. He has laws. He is a king. He's a king of a country called heaven. And I have to adhere to his rules, his laws, his regulations, and obey everything that he says. And I don't look at it as a religion, but I understand if you call it a religion. I get it. And I don't mind using the word religion. I really don't. I just, but for conversation's sake, if I'm having a conversation with somebody, I'm having a conversation with an atheist, I'm pretty much always going to say I'm not religious because I know in their mind what that means. And I don't subscribe to their definition of that word and how they perceive it. Because meaning can only be found in a person. When he says the word religion, he means one thing. When I say the word religion, I mean a different thing. The definition of that word, there is a definition of it. There is a proper use for it as well. But obviously, when you're having a regular conversation with somebody in the same way when you're hanging out with your friend, you say, I hate you, you automatically understand it's a joke. You understand the meaning of it right away because they're your friend. But whenever we have serious conversations, we often just put aside the meaning and we just want to prove our point. And that's where I'm coming from. I looked up what does the Bible have to say about words. It says 2 Timothy 2:14. He says, "Remind them of these things and charge them before God not to quarrel about words, which does no good but only ruins the hearers." We do need to be careful how we approach people with the definitions of words and different things, and not be too concerned about it, and try to understand where a person is coming from when they're talking rather than because I've even had people do it to me, man, I did it in high school. I remember I was in high school, I used to do it where you just want to win a debate. So the person might be correct on something, but they didn't use the words in the right context. They misused the words that they're using. So then you start looking into the definition of the word that they use, and then you prove to them that they misused that word. And it's like, okay, they may have misused that word, but did you understand what they meant when they used that word? And for me, not to be petty, if someone misuses a word, I just it's okay. It's not a big deal. If I knew what you meant, I don't need to try to correct you on the definition. And I think a lot of Christians do that all the time. And I've even talked to people who they get so frustrated with talking to Christians because they're like, they say Christians are crazy because this is what you guys all do. If I say something, you hop into a Bible passage and you correct me on the Bible passage. If I say a different thing, you correct me on the definition of a word. I was watching a debate of these apologists debating with atheists. These apologist Christian men debating with atheists, and they kept correcting atheists on the definition of words that they were using. And I can tell that the atheists were getting so annoyed. They're like, can we just have a conversation? If we were in any other situation, you would understand what we're saying. But since we're having a debate, you're looking in between the lines and looking at every usage of every word that comes out of my mouth. I can't even just say what I need to say without you just understanding what I mean. And I totally understand it. I've had it done to me. I've done it to other people. Did Paul think of his faith as a religion? Like, because he had an encounter with Christ, according to the book of Acts, and Christ blinded him and different things, and he heard the voice of God. And at that point, what was his mind like after that experience? Because he was attacking the Christian faith. He was attacking Christians, right? But then eventually, after he had this encounter with Christ, he just believed in God now. Now, people who didn't have an encounter with God, I would say that that belief would be different compared to somebody who has seen. The person who has seen, they can't deny what they experienced. I mean, perhaps they could, but just in general, like you're not going to necessarily deny. I know the experiences that I've had in my life where I'm like, okay, I can't deny that this happened. I might not be able to explain all the time what that was. Maybe sometimes in my ignorant mind, I fill in the blank as to what something was. There was a time where I saw these lights in the sky and I was like, what the heck is that? Is that a UFO? Was it an angel? Was it? And it's amazing how the mind just tries to fill in the blank and add meaning to things. But overall, I hope that I made my point. If this doesn't make my point, I don't know what else does. I really don't. There was this thing that I was thinking about the other day. I think oftentimes we think of Jesus Christ as an actor. Like, for example, I used to think this way when I was younger. I've heard Christians say when Jesus Christ was dying on the cross and he shouted to his Father in heaven, Father, forgive them for they know not what they do. And you ask someone, what does that mean to you? They'll say, Jesus was trying to show us. He was trying to show us as an example of how we're supposed to treat people who are persecuting us. He's trying to show us something. And I'm like, I get it. I get the mindset. Jesus was a great example. He was the best example on earth. But in that moment, was he trying to show us something or was he really just in agony? Because I remember there's a passage where he was so stressed out to a point that he was going to die on the cross, go to hell, all these different things. So stressed that he was sweating out blood. And I'm like, I don't think he was trying to demonstrate something. That's just what had happened. And what had happened was a good example of how we should be, but he wasn't trying to do that to show us something. Like we get into this, it's as if it's all abstract to us. It's not real. I don't know how to explain this. He came down, he lowered himself, became like a regular man, and he experienced the same things that we experienced and went through the same temptations that we have to go through all the time. And when Jesus was tempted, I don't think he was trying to show us necessarily something, but when he was tempted, he was genuinely actually being tempted. Like he wasn't acting. I don't know how to describe it. The reason why I bring up this point about this is because the word religion. When people use that word religion, it suggests that it's just abstract. It may or may not be real. But if you're somebody who has become a witness, I think there's a difference between being someone who's religious and being someone who's a witness to something. Because a witness actually saw something. A religious person just decided to just believe it because it may be true, but it may not. I might change my mind later if some other piece of evidence about some other religion or evolution comes around. I might just believe that because that's greater evidence than what I got out of the Bible or whatever. Come to a close. Thank you for watching. This is what my thoughts and my response is to this audio clip. And yeah, I think it's important to understand hermeneutics. It's important to, know the definition of words. It's important. You understand and look into the Hebrew and Greek, but also understand the context from which words are used, because words are used interchangeably, and we shouldn't necessarily get too concerned with the usage of words, but more concerned with what does a person mean when they say a certain thing. And that requires explanation and listening and being slow to speak, slow to get angry, trying to understand. All right, y'all. It's a lot of good things to practice. I hope that made sense. God bless. Subscribe to the Cree Podcast. Tell me your comments. Tell me your thoughts. Was Jesus Christ religious? What does that mean?